Hey, what's going on, everyone? Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. Like I was saying in my previous podcast I did with the boys, just wanted to let you guys know there's going to be a little bit of a format change when it comes to this channel for various reasons. But I talked about it a little bit, and I've talked about it before. One thing I like to do, or I want to start doing on this channel, is actually focusing on pop culture. And if you guys tuned in into the podcast that we had, it was about 2 weeks ago. That is going to become normal on this channel. In fact, I plan to do one this weekend if everything lines up. If not, I'll let you guys know. But as far as the podcast time, it could be on a Friday night, but I'm actually shooting for Saturday mornings. And I'll get with Sega Man on that. Sega Man might start doing a podcast. I don't want to cross the streams with any of the other guys. But right now, just a quick announcement. That's what we'll be doing. All In Popcast will be coming back. It'll be a regular thing for me on my channel because there's a lot of stuff when it comes to pop culture that I want to talk about. I participate in pop culture online, especially on social media. Like I've told you guys, or if you guys saw my video or been on my channel for a while and you've seen the videos that I've done, I've actually talked about this stuff for the last several years. But the primary focus of this channel has always been about Xbox. I can include Xbox in video games into the podcast as well, but it won't be the focal point of the podcast. So that's why I'm doing this right now, just to give you guys a really quick heads up. And also to kind of talk, like you see the title of the video, and you also see the description, what we're going to talk about. How to navigate the treacherous waters of EDI. If you don't know what that is, EDI stands for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I know, guys, when you see something like that and you hear me with a negative connotation, I have my reasons. I talked about it quite a bit on the podcast I did 2 weeks ago in the initial All In podcast. And it's something that I do believe in. But given the political climate of the country now and a lot of stuff that comes with it, it's just something that is, it's there's a great saying: the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it's something that sounds good, but then when you dig deep and you start looking at what it actually entails, right, it's actually doesn't do what a lot of people says that they want to do. And look, there's a lot of people out there that actually like it, right? It sounds good, it looks good on paper, right? Everybody wants to be believes in equality. Everybody believes that there should be diversity, and everybody should be included. Nobody knows that better than somebody like me. I've been a nerd for my entire life. And I specifically say nerd because I do make a distinction between nerds and geeks. Geeks to me have always been on the more technical side of popular culture, whereas the nerds have been on the more kind of like on the more entertainment side, right? The more cultural side, if I'm being honest. And so that's what this channel is going to focus on as well. This is what we're going to talk about in these podcasts. And I'm trying to get some of the fellows on board. I'm not sure exactly if they would want to join, right? Because we're definitely going to get political because I don't want to. Guys, in fact, it's one of the things I enjoy about being a nerd, growing up my entire life, even when it was rough, when it wasn't cool, when people used to make fun of people like me, and if you guys are like me and had the kind of lifestyle I had when I was younger, it just wasn't a cool thing, and a lot of people would avoid it if I'm being honest. Nobody wants to be that person, right? And but what I found out as I was growing up is that I loved pop culture more than I cared about being made fun of or being picked on. And I'm talking not just verbally, man, physically. I come from a different time. So, it's something that I knew a long time ago, man, that no matter what the bad stuff that was going to happen, by being a nerd paled in comparison to all the stuff I love and enjoy doing. That includes movies, comic books, video games, the usual stuff that's popular now, which is ironic, right? Because popular culture is actually popular. And I think that's one of the problems with popular culture. And we'll get into that as well, not in this podcast, but these are the kind of topics that you guys can look forward to. If you guys have read comic books like I did, like I said, if you guys play any amount of gaming, if you guys watched any ton of movies, um, you guys know that there's a culture to all of this. It's just not about completing a game. It's just not about going to the latest movie. It's not even about listening to the latest music, the certain fashions that might be popular at the time. There's a lot more to it than just saying that you did something, right? It's an actual lifestyle that you live. And that's the approach that I'm going to come with when it comes to pop culture on this channel. And like I said, I'll try and get some of the people involved. Um, but I think some of the usual crew wouldn't mind so much. But again, a lot of the guys that I know more stay more on the gaming front. This podcast is going to focus a lot on the other aspects of pop culture outside of gaming, right? And like I said, I don't like to get political with this kind of stuff, but we kind of have to. Like when I'm talking about EDI, just really quickly, um, you know, for me right now, when I look at it, it's not the same when I was growing up. Say like a person like myself, who actually is from Hawaii, I grew up in the mainland. I didn't come across hardly anybody that was like me. But I didn't think of it in that terms. You know what I mean? And did I have a few problems? Yeah, but also had a lot of good experiences. So for me, it wasn't always cut and dry that it had to be a certain way or fit in a certain box. And that's what the one of the great things I love about being a nerd, right? Because that kind of thing applies in popular culture, especially if you consume stuff like I do, right? It didn't matter if the character didn't exactly look like me. It didn't matter if the game didn't play to my sensibilities or what I might have liked in the game. One of the things I talk about a lot on this channel is when I was growing up, dude, it's about the wonderment, right? That's the one thing I fell in love with when it came to fantasy, science fiction, comic books, any of that stuff. You didn't have to, like, I didn't have to look at something and see myself in it, right? In fact, a lot of the characters that I like is nothing like me, right? And I think that's just more of a generational thing. The generation now, especially amongst the millennials, they like to see themselves more and they like to be represented more for whatever reason. But for me, it's always pure escapism. That's why I loved it, right? Because you had a real world out there with real issues. I had real world problems when I was younger. We didn't have money. Right? Times were tough. Started working when I was young. Had to provide. Had to be cognizant of how you spent your money. I had real world issues. So when I played video games, when I read comic books, I always wanted to escape into something that was outside of my normal life, right? And I like that aspect of my life. And it wasn't the total dominant thing, man. If you guys follow me on social media, especially on Twitter, you guys know I'm also a person of faith. So that was the main crux of what kept me going. Strong family as well, a good community that I grew up in, church that I went to, all of that stuff, right? But when it came to entertainment, I just wanted to get away, man, to put your brain on hold. When you struggle and when you got to work hard and you got to study hard and all this kind of stuff. Um, and that's why maybe I gravitated a lot to it, right? I don't know. I just loved comic books and superheroes and stuff like that when I was growing up. And then when video games came around, I've been playing that since I was a little kid, right? So I'm the prototype of what you might expect of a pop culture person who lives the pop culture lifestyle to be. And again, I tell you all this to tell you guys that this is the direction that the channel is going to go to. I want to include this, right? Because it's a big part of my life. Also, things are changing on the gaming front as well. I don't know if we're going to talk about it on this podcast, but I'll definitely talk about it in the Wrecking Crew. That's where we focus specifically on video games. And more importantly, that's where we focus on the Xbox stuff. In the latest podcast I had, we talked about it specifically. And so what I see that there seems to be a shift, especially if you're on the Xbox side. And I'm not necessarily saying it's bad, but it's definitely something that's notable. It's something that you can actually feel. So we might discuss that there's a change in the wind. I'll give you guys a little spoiler alert. I absolutely think that Microsoft has totally changed the game. I see that there's still stuff that they're implementing and doing to change it even more. Um, and look, there's people that don't like what they're doing. I am one of them, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I see why they're doing it. And ultimately, I think they'll win out in the end just because of the way they're doing things, right? But I've told you guys 100% with you guys all the time. I'm more of a scorched earth guy. I prefer Microsoft to be heavy-handed, but it looks like they're not going to do that. They're going to go another direction, another path. And if I'm being honest with you, man, I mean, as far as the culture war is concerned, or not culture war, but the console war is concerned, maybe that's why I'm doing culture war stuff now because it's something that I can rant about. But as far as on the Xbox side, man, I believe the console war looks like Microsoft is trying to squash all that in their own way. And again, it's not a way that I agree with, but I can't. There's things that Phil Spencer does that I don't agree with, I don't like, but I can't complain about the results, man. It's not the way I would have done it. But like I say all the time, this is why I'm doing a podcast on my computer at home, and he's in charge of $1 trillion company or $1 billion company, right? He's the head honcho of Microsoft games, and then they should just call it a Microsoft gaming at this point. This is the direction they're going in, right? And I'm not all gloom and doom like other people. I don't think they're going to give up on the consoles. They're just going to do everything. They're going to be everywhere. Like I say, they're going to be everywhere all the time. Wherever you want to, wherever they can meet you, that's where they're going to be, right? And I think consoles are still a big part of it, and for various reasons, aside from the fact that they announced it. Okay. Also, I still ride with Phil Spencer and see what he's saying, as far as exclusivity and stuff like that until he proves otherwise. And then if that changes, we can discuss that too. Like I said, yep. Hey, what's up, Unlimited? Yeah, this won't be long anyway, dude. Normally I don't do these during the week, but I wanted to give a channel update just because I'm going to do a podcast this weekend. Preferably be Saturday morning, so it'll probably be afternoon for you guys. I'm not sure if some of the guys would want to jump in because we'll probably get political as well. But we're going to talk in pop culture as a whole. But specifically, I want to talk about DEI. The whole what we've kind of talked about with the Sweet Baby and stuff. But this is actually going to include the theology of it and have a discussion on that. And I think some people just don't want to get involved in it. Yeah. But yeah, no worries, dude. Like I said, I'm already what. This will not be long, bro. I promise. Like I'm going to be because I got stuff to do. And again, like I said, I just wanted to give this as a heads up to everybody. And then to let them know, man, the channel is changing. And one of the reasons why is because Microsoft has flipped the script. So this channel, as far as an Xbox channel is concerned, is more about the stuff I do is more based on principle. The stuff I do is more based on ranting and stuff like keeping people in check. But to be honest with you, there's not a lot of reason for me to do that now, right? Because like I'm on Twitter now or X. I'm on X now, and then I still engage with people. But I don't have to engage with them in the way that I normally do. Because like if a PlayStation guy comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, so and so, we got your games, we got this stuff," I can't say anything anymore, right? Because they do. They have 4 of our games, and they say like, "Well, we're gonna get Starfield." Well, I don't think we're gonna get. You guys are gonna get Starfield. I'll stick with what Phil said. But on the flip side, I can't go to war with that person, right? Because I'm not sure. Because there's that doubt. And I'm not saying I'm doubtful of it. Like I said, I'll ride with what he says. But you know what I'm saying? It's actually changed the battlefield a little bit, right? And it's ironic, man, because you're the one that was talking about actually doing videos where you can just focus on gameplay, talking about the stuff that Microsoft has coming up. And so, it's going to be a change for me on this channel. And like I said, we'll talk about that. But that won't be until next Saturday. One of the positive things, it gives me time to concentrate on my games. I was busy yesterday, man. I had something come up it was out of the blue with my house, and I had to take care of that because I wanted to download a couple of new games to try them out. I finished work already, so I'm gonna try and hit some stuff up and play some games tonight as well. Sarah already confirmed more Xbox consoles. Yeah, and I don't doubt her, dude. I don't doubt her. I don't doubt her at all. And one of the reasons I know they're gonna have at least a couple more generations, right? It's just because they do have a base, and that base does spend money. We do buy games, and we do support the brand. Even though I honestly feel the momentum has died, they kind of killed the momentum. I think it's a calculated risk on their part. They kind of looked at everything, right? So, but that's another thing, Unlimited. That's why, I mean, I used to go hard in the paint for Xbox a long time ago. If you would have known me back in 2013, 2014, 2015, I was really hard in the paint for my Xbox. Right? I would war with anybody. But after what happened to Crap Gamer, that kind of killed it for me. And not so much I'm saying Crap Gamer was right in what he said and the way he said it. But it just shocked me that Phil Spencer would actually call him out. I know why he did it. But if something like Crap Gamer said bothered him so much, why was he quiet against all the hate and stuff that we were getting as Xbox guys? Right? So it showed me that back then. That's why I kind of calmed down from all of that, dude. Because look, I'm not gonna fight for you if you're not gonna fight for yourself. And then you see this new shift. And don't get me wrong, dude. This is not gloom and doom on my part, dude. I'm just reading the tea leaves, and I'm just adjusting accordingly. Like I said in previous videos, I'm numb to all this stuff at this point, man. People can say whatever they want to, right? I know what I like. I know why I do what I do. I know why I play the games that I play. So it's no big deal. I need to do a podcast soon myself, trying to find time to get the crew together to do a solo show. Just got so much going on. I miss it. Yeah, dude. I guess I'm going in the opposite direction if I'm being honest with you. This is why I'm kind of shifting to the pop culture aspect of it because there's actually stuff that I want to talk about more than I do video games nowadays. So it's ironic to me, right? It's probably the best time to be. It is the best time to be a video game, especially on the Xbox side. Outside of the 4 games that went over, Microsoft has been killing it. It amazes me, and part of me thinks they're doing that because they kind of want to. That's like they're like, look, we did this. We know some of you guys, especially our hardcore fans, don't like what we did here, but here, there's this, and we got more games coming out. And I'm not saying they did specifically. There's probably in the cards, but if you see like they're pushing it really hard, they're using Xbox Wire finally on a level I always thought they should have been using Xbox Wire instead of going to all these other publications, which they, well, the gaming I don't care about. I know they got to go to the mainstream media, but if I was Xbox, dude, I would just get rid of. I wouldn't even focus on the gaming media. And in fact, if we're lucky, by the end of the year, they'll all be gone. They'll all be out of jobs. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like that. They just basically changed everything, right? To the point where, like I was saying earlier, a couple of weeks ago, or was it last month, where I was saying like, yeah, I think we're going to probably see some like crossing the streams on all the consoles. Not probably not main titles and stuff like that, but there'll be some stuff that they're pushing. We'll see, dude. We'll see. But like I said, that's kind of what my channel's focused on, and they kind of nullified that. I'll still do podcasts and stuff like that, but would I rather be arguing with people or playing my games? And playing my games is kind of winning out right now. I've been so disconnected from the console war stuff that I can only assume what's going on, but it sounds like the expansion of the near future of Xbox. Well, there's a lot of people. It's what's happening on X, which is ironic, is that there's a lot of Xbox guys that feel that way, but it's happening across, with the exception of Nintendo guys, but they're oblivious anyway. But I will say that aside from that, like even on the PlayStation side, they got issues. Like I care like about PlayStation, you know what I'm saying? I don't, but you can see it, man. These dudes are all ticked off right now because they're finding out the supposed power advantage they have with this supposed new console coming out isn't really a power advantage, and then they're gonna pay more for it. Yeah, because they're oblivious to the fact, even though we tell them, and economists tell them, and average people tell them that Sony doesn't have any money. They don't listen to that. They're too busy saying how Xbox is gonna go out of business. So, I mean that's kind of bittersweet though, Unlimited, right? But you're right, dude. If you don't want to deal with it, it's good to stay off of social media. I stay connected because I kind of want to keep my finger on the pulse of everything. But I will say this, dude, the momentum that they had going into 2024, that's cooled down a lot. And I think they picked up on that. And they need to. They need to be cognizant of that, dude. If you're gonna do all the things that they're doing, you're gonna have to be everything to everybody. That's just the reality of it. I don't think it's one of those things that some people worry about in the Xbox community about it being a zero-sum game, right? Like in other words, I don't think they're looking at it like we get more benefit out of this, so let's go this route instead of taking care of the fans and stuff like that. I think they're trying to do everything, but that's hard in it. So, you juggle too much stuff, man. You got to be careful. You got to have your ducks in order. I stand behind my last podcast. These 4 games are not doing well on PS5 or Switch, and they're not going to reap any big benefits. And this test was a needed failure for the non-gaming higher-ups at MS. Yeah, hopefully. That's what it is, right? I see a lot of buzz about Sea of Thieves, but I don't know, dude. I'm just stuck on the fact that PlayStation guys don't support their own games, and you're seeing that now. They haven't for years, and it's finally catching up with them, you know. And this is the negative thing about having Microsoft in a sense, right? Or the business part. You need the money, right? The analytics is solid, the numbers are great. But when these guys try and get involved in the actual culture of gaming, that's where things are bad. This is what happened with Disney. Right? This is what happened with Marvel. This is what happened with Star Wars. But we'll see how it plays out. I don't know if they have a bigger plan of just kind of breeding all the people out. You know what I mean? There's a movie that just came out that my mom was telling me about. I didn't watch it just because I'm tired of like I said, I don't like EDI stuff and stuff like that. But according to my mom, the premise sounded interesting. Right? It's about how Native Americans had land and what the foreign people would do. They would marry into Native American tribes or families and stuff like that and try and, in a sense, breed them out. I mean, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from Microsoft. But anyway, we'll save that for we'll save that for the wrecking crew. But I think that's something we could talk about. To see that gaming can't be run like Word, Excel, etc. Yeah, they're looking at those dollar signs, dude. I don't know, dude. Again, you give Phil the ability to you give Phil what you give him, and then look what happens. You know what I mean? Sony even stopping production of PSVR 2. They are drowning it. Everyone got their fingers in theirs. Well, the great thing about that Unlimited is that when it finally crashes, it'll be awesome. It'll be fantastical, and then we'll get to celebrate. Corporations are so heavily focused on shareholders and money that they don't understand the culture. Phil, Sarah, and Matt Booty understand the culture, but Nadala, Amy Ford, and them don't. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that I agree what they're doing, but you kind of need that. That's what kept Xbox kind of going. And I'm not saying just the money aspect of it, but the focus. Um, but they'll learn. They have to learn the hard way, right? Yeah, but I agree. Yeah, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge next week. Next week, Friday. No wait. Actually, you know what? We might talk about it this week because I believe I have my kids next week because this my kids' schedule got mixed up. Because we did a podcast last week, right? Oh yeah, so it would be next week. We'll see. It'll still be on point for next week, and then we'll see if my kids might still stay with their mom. So we'll see how that all plays out. But definitely we'll do a podcast this week because I want to get this show on the road when it comes to the podcast. You're right to an extent, but what if Phil and them did was what? But if what Phil and them did was so successful, why ruin a winning formula? Um, I just because they're nice. That's the only way. I'm not saying that's the best answer, but that's the only way I can think about it, right? Because they could have crushed Sony and Nintendo a long time ago, and they have Sony on the ropes. All they would have to do is get that final knockout punch. Like when you saw, I don't know if you saw Joshua. Man, I can't think of his name right now. The heavyweight champion. So he fought that UFC guy who everybody was high on, and then Joshua, I think Edwards his name, but he hit the dude, and the dude went down. And then when the dude get back up, man, he just went in and just finished the job. That's what, to me, that's what Phil them should be doing. And I know they're looking at a broader spectrum of what's going on in the gaming industry, but I don't know, dude. I don't think they need to worry about it. We see everything going on with Embracer. And if you didn't know, man, Tencent, they're doing stuff, man, but China's government is highly regulating everything, man. They're actually regressing in China. Because when you're a communist, the most important thing is the party, and then it boils down to the person in charge of the party. Right? That's what it always is. So the perceived threat of the U.S. and U.S. industries and stuff like that is gone in a sense, and they're focusing on their own industry. They're killing their free market there. And Tencent's not as bad off as other industries, but I don't know, dude. For me personally, and I know I have my bias, man. It's just time for Microsoft to step in and just handle. I mean, if I was them, I just blood in the water, man. I just go for the jugular at this point. Then you don't have to worry about all this stuff, dude, and everything dies, and then you have peace at last. But I think they're going to do with the olive branch thing is what they're doing. My personal opinion, could be wrong. You know, Phil is a gamer. He looks at everybody as gamers. Unfortunately for Phil, not everybody is gamers, man. I've been saying this for years. Most people are not gamers. People who are actual gamers, they're in the culture of gaming. Most people are not in the culture of gaming. It's a pastime. It could be a hobby, something to pass the time, right? Something that they do because it's popular, something they do because their friends do it. And it doesn't mean that they get into the nitty gritty of what gaming is, like guys like us. But and here we are. Or is that what you said? There and here we are. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, brother. Um, yeah, that is definitely. I don't know, dude. That'd be a good topic to have because I'm gonna have to find reasons to do the podcast, right? Because the news is pretty much it's done, man. You were right, though. You're right, right? It's just like people, and it's news in general. People just like to focus on the negative. But by Microsoft doing what they're doing, even the PlayStation channels, man, can't really say anything anymore, right? And then like the Xbox guys, dude, they're just aside from Tim Dog who keeps on crying, and Peter who keeps on preaching the doomsday thing. Like he said something today, which I don't care. I don't. People talk to me about him. It doesn't bother me because I never considered him an Xbox guy. But today he was saying, "Oh, Xbox is this, this, and this." I was like, with Phil Spencer again. And I'm like, well, regardless, though, they're still killing it, right? Then you see what's coming out on Game Pass, and it reassures you that Microsoft is still, basically the same. They're continuing to do the same thing they've been doing for the last couple of years. Again, it was just those 4 games thing that threw everything out of whack. And I think because it was coming out of left field, so to speak. A lot of people didn't expect it. That's why they caught them off guard. That's why people had a hard time dealing with it. Even people that said they were okay, you could tell they weren't. And again, that was proven when Nintendo had their thing, and then they saw the first game they showed was an Xbox game, right? And then you saw the reaction. So it is what it is. Yeah, almost none of them, but Tim, I really considered Xbox. Yeah, he was. He was. Not anymore. It's hard to get past that. I mean, I can understand why he is this way. Don't get me wrong. I'm empathetic. I sympathize with the guy, right? But dude, man up, bro. That's one thing. One of my pet peeves, man. It's just like we've been through this so much that it's time to either piss or get off the pot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them blew up this generation after the worst of the Xbox One. They died down. Yeah, because I think what drilled them to stick around was they thought Microsoft would actually end up going a certain way, and when it doesn't, man, perfect example, dude. If you ever watch Game of Thrones, the final 2 seasons, people just couldn't stand it. Like they're hardcore fans, like they watched it because they've been watching it for so long. But those last 2 seasons were a disappointment to a lot of the hardcore fans. So I just think if you people in general that want a good story would probably disappointed. Um, or with the show Lost from back in the day. You know, you have this idea what's going to happen, and when it doesn't pan out, dude, you get upset, and that's what happens with a lot of Xbox guys. It doesn't go the way that they think it is. Even me, this last month or so, I have some ideas of what they're trying to do, but right now when I look at it, they still might be doing that, but I don't see any other indication of when this is going to come around, right? So I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, well, why worry about it? You know. I'm starting to do the stuff that I was doing when I was still affiliated with Marvel. After Captain Marvel, I kind of put on like, okay, well, that movie sucked, and but I put it as a one-off, and then in my mind I thought, there's no way that they're gonna, go keep on going down this road and piss away the 10 years that they put into these franchises and the empire that they basically built, and not in movies and comics and I mean not comic book movies in general as an entertainment juggernaut, right? I'm like, there's no way they're gonna piss it all down the drain, and I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong, and I could read the tea leaves at Phase 4. I was not disillusioned at all. I would argue with a lot of the Marvel guys, so I was already there. Um, and I just checked out, dude. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. I'll get back to that in a second when it comes to pop culture and how if you support like how I supported the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then they start doing these stupid things that they're doing. What do you do? Like, how do you react? Um, and for me personally, I just stepped away. I had to, right? And so if you take the route that I took, then you got then there's other that offer people advice that they could do. Just, uh, I didn't see any Nintendo show, and I've been honest every step of the way. I'm also not a man of extreme in general, so why I like passionate about game, I never bitch, and I'll never bitch. Speak my opinion and move on. Yeah, yeah, I think that's the best thing to do. I think it's always good to keep a calm head because people are emotional, right? In some aspects, but being over emotional, that's Like for me, like there's times I get angry and I already know I be that way, so I tend to be on the more like you, a more balanced path, right? Because I do have my pet peeves that set me off. Um, but as I've gotten older too, man, it's I've mellowed out a lot. So yeah, season 8 really gets the hate. I remember season 7 being well received, but many saw the flaws when they couldn't get directly from the book anymore. Well, that's what ended up happening, right? The guys who were the showrunners, they did a good job of taking what the material was and presenting it for the audience, and everybody loved it, right? When George R. R. Martin didn't finish those books, but I still thought he was consulting on it. But it kind of left the guys to their own, like trying to create stuff themselves, and that's where you saw a lot of the flaws in the series, right? And they're having a hard time wrapping it up. At some points, it seemed to drag on. At other points, it was too short. You know what I mean? There's some really cool stuff in there, but overall, it was not the same product. And you can and you know why. Hello, hey, what's up, realist? Hello, reminds me of that meme, that little boy in the blue shirt, acting like he's okay, holding back tears. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Shout out to Iraq. He was ahead of the game on Marvel even before I was. Now Xbox, I'm not checked out on because they still have like, a lot great going on. Yeah, the good way outweighs the bad, right? And a lot of the stuff that's being said about Xbox is all hearsay and rumors. The usual stuff. The irony of it all is that stuff's so much so bad on the PlayStation side, it's kind of balancing it out. Because the PlayStation guys have to pay attention. They are paying attention to some stuff because this is stuff that you can't ignore. You know what I mean? It's like when you have a pain in your back, and then you kind of just walk it off, and then it's different from when you wake up the next morning and you can't feel your feet. You know what I'm saying? Something's wrong, right? And you have to go get it taken care of. It's one of those situations that they're dealing with now. But after 100%, dude, it's they are or Ewok was, yeah, definitely ahead on Marvel. I wouldn't say that I was late on Marvel, but what I will say is my expectations from Marvel. Again, being I'm a fan, so I'm a lot harder on the company than most people. I've always been like that. The things I love, like I'm a Steeler fan, dude. I'm hard on my team. I've always been the thing. That's how you know if I love something a lot. I'm really hard on it. But my thing that where I differentiated from E-Rock, it wasn't about the quality as much as it was about the direction and the messaging. I could see that a mile away because they did that in the comic books a long time ago. It's one of the reasons that I would just go and I'm used to like some egomaniac taking over the comic book thinking they're bigger than the actual title and the company. I'm used to people like trying to do stuff to push the envelope, even though it makes no sense, or they just want to be provocative, right? But usually the company like will smack them down because it's hurting their sales. This is the stuff we're used to. What we're dealing with right now is basically a religion. Right? This is where the DEI stuff comes in. That's what I'm talking about today. It's basically a religion, right? So you have a lot of people that believe in this stuff. And when you believe in something so strongly, facts, all that stuff just goes out the door. You know, look how much money Disney's hemorrhaging and they still haven't course corrected. And I don't expect them to course correct at all. Right? This DEI stuff is basically it's their creed, man. It's their mantra. It's their Tao, however you want to say it. Like I say, I'm a person of faith. So game recognized game, right? We are spiritual beings at the end of the day that need to believe in something. And there's a lot of stuff that people choose to believe in. Right? For me personally, it's God. Right? Can't go wrong with that in my opinion. And so these other guys, they go down different routes, right? And so on the DEI front, it's the thing I can't stand about DEI is the virtual signaling and the hypocrisy. If something really bothers you, you just can't say words, or you just can't put like a flag on your thing, or show me what you're gonna do about it. Do, take some action, man. Sacrifice something, you know. But a lot of people won't do that at the end of the day, because number one, we have social media right now, and it's easier to just type something on a keyboard and zip it out on the internet. It's another thing to actually get involved. And then one of the problems with it and why they won't do it is because deep down inside, they know, subconsciously even they know. And then if they start to expose themselves to certain things, then the truth comes out. And then they're faced with with actually dealing with it. The good is so much better than the bad that as a consumer, I just can't get upset. Sony has said for years how bad they're doing, and now it's reaching a point people can't ignore. Oh, 100%. 100%, dude. It's a long time coming, though. It should have ended years ago. I said a decade ago they should have been gone. Yet I'm over here in one long I told you so. Because everything I'd researched and discussed on Unlimited Truth was from Sony's mouth, yet nobody was listening. Yeah, dude. And that's one of the most frustrating thing I think for a lot of people on the Xbox, excuse me, on the Xbox side, is because you can, for those of us who do see it, but you're basically talking to a wall when it comes to Sony guys. The collapse is the only thing that will change them. And even then, those guys will be in denial. But I'm saying, at least it'll take away it'll change the conversation. Again, that's what I see Microsoft is doing. They're going about it in a kind of instead of just pulling the tooth out, right? They're going to work around it. Right? They're going to try to save the tooth, all that kind of crap. People have a desire to believe in something. Since the world is more secular than ever, we are seeing people believe in anything that they can feel a part of. Yeah, and the spirit's moving. Yeah, I see it, dude. The spirit's moving. Right? It takes stuff like this to happen. I'm not talking about gaming or culture. I'm talking about, in the world, real world events that are going on. When you're like 18 or between 18 and 26, and the world is your oyster, and you have big dreams, you live you live in a good country, comfortable lifestyle, right? Living a good life, so good that you can worry about things that most people don't in the rest of the world. And then reality slaps you upside the head, and then you start doing some really, sobering. It sobers you up, and you start doing some really purposeful thinking, right? And that kind of opens you up to the realization that you might be wrong or something has to change. Things aren't what I thought it was. Oh, I'm only 18. You see some of these guys now making videos. They don't want to go to war, right? These dudes are saying like, oh, they just won't go. Stuff like that, dude. It's that's the world we live in right now. And then when you want to go watch a movie to escape this stuff, or you want to watch a new cartoon you're excited about, or you want to go watch a good Netflix periodical, right? Or you just want to play a game, and then these same dudes that are jacking up the world also trying to come into your space, and you're like, dude, this sucks. So I've been talking about it for a long time, dude. But um, people are finally coming around to what's going on. And when nobody on Xbox side was listening, I threw in the towel with them. I just see myself as a gamer, not part of the Xbox community, which is hardly a community. Yeah, I mean it's there, but it's just not. It's not like how Sega. I mean, I'm a hardcore Sega fan, and it was hardcore back then. These Xbox guys, dude. Like I said, I wouldn't want to go to war with any of these dudes. If the console war was real, I would never. I wouldn't pick up. I would not fight alongside any of these dudes. So I mean, it is what it is. We'll see. We'll see. I think. I think at the end of the day, man, Xbox will be on top. Right? They just go in a different way about it. And like I said, we can discuss that on the. That's a good one for the podcast. The Wrecking Crew. Yeah, there's a reason older media is often more popular on streaming services now. I was reading about how popular the shows outside of the flavor of the month are. Our era shows. Yeah. So Generation Z, me and Sega Man was talking about it. So I forgot he was talking about the movies, I believe, and I was approaching it from the music because of what my son's having to do for music. Because he's in a band and stuff like that. He plays classical guitar, he does drums, right? He's doing all this stuff. So he's listening to the stuff that I grew up listening to because again, that big influence was my uncle, my dad. Like he's listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. He's listening to Stevie Wonder, and I'm talking about their '70s stuff, dude. It's like I said, my dad, them there, Doobie Brothers. So this is like he's not that as musically charged as I was when I was growing up. It's more because he's into music, so he comes from a different perspective. He's a talented kid. Like I have no musical inclination, so I'm glad that he does. You know, I'm the only person in my family that can't sing or play instruments, anything. But yeah, so and I don't blame them. That's in fact that's one of the things that I was going to talk about tonight, right? Because there's a lot of people that's just sick and tired of they come home, they work all day, they hear about a show, they want to watch it, whether you're into superheroes, dramas, any of that stuff, dude. Then you sit down, you get ready to watch the show, you turn it on, and within the first 15 minutes, dude, it's number one, it's not what you thought it was gonna be, dude. It's nothing but ideology being crammed down your throat, dude. And you're sitting there wondering why they're doing all this kind of stuff. And people are wise to it, man. The tides are changing, which is good. I mean, I think it's done some reprehensible damage that can't be reversed, irreversible damage to two specific genres that I like. I think comic books are absolutely dead; they'll never rebound. In the sense of what it was. The guys that I followed, respected those guys, so they dubbed this new age in comics the Iron Age, and I hope they're right. But it's basically if an EMP hit and all the electronics fail, and then we're back at stage one. That's how far comic books have fallen off. On top of the fact that they're getting heavy competition from anime and from manga, and even like manhwa, some of these other countries are stepping up their game. So not only have you dug yourself into a hole, unnecessarily killed your own industry, even if it was to get it back on track, now you have to deal with the competition. Right? Because at the end of the day, dude, there's some basic truths that have to be acknowledged when it comes to pop culture. Right? Like regardless how you feel, regardless what you think of somebody talking about a person of color in a show or a specific political side in a show, ideologies in a show, right? At the end of the day, if you can't write a good story or good characters, your product sucks. And that's where I have a lot of problems with this kind of stuff. I can't even forgive some of the stuff that they do because it doesn't make sense. But if you give me an overall good product, I don't have to say it has to be perfect. An example I like to use is when I listen to Hebot and watch He-Man, the last He-Man cartoon that came out on Netflix. And if I listened to Hebot and I watched it, and I didn't like the whole Tila thing about it, but the rest of the cartoon was solid. It was awesome, and I enjoyed it. Mhm. But they're not even. There's people out there not even giving you that option, dude. They just go 150, right down your throat, man. They're just gonna cram it all the way down. Screw good story, screw great character, screw any semblance of anything making sense, right? And then at the end of the day, dude, even when I check my own bias at the door and I'm trying to like give a good opinion on the movie, dude, I'm a Nazi, right? So I'm like, yeah. Anyway, and so what's happening, right, is that they're telling people like myself, this is not made for you. This is made for some other people not included. This is what we're going for, and then people like me are like, okay, well, fine, dude, I can walk away. You know, because one of the other things I love to do in all of this, and why I'm not hurting, dude, is I just find other things to participate in, other genres to go into, right? So what I did today was there's a show on Netflix that came out. I've been waiting for the show for a long time. It popped up, and I was like, solid, right? I was watching an anime called Solo Leveling. If you guys like anime, I definitely recommend that for you. It's really good. It's actually based on a South Korean manga. I think called manhwa there. And if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Um, but it's based off of South Korean, and manga stuff. And so they have an anime on it, and it's awesome, dude. And I've been enjoying that. The only thing I can't stand about it is they do it episode by episode instead of putting it all out there. So, I got my fix on that, and then I switched over to playing. I got back into Tales of Arise because I'm trying to beat the game, and then played some of that. Then switched back over to Netflix, and I noticed that the show I've been waiting for, which is Physical 100, it's a reality show. I do like reality shows. Um, but this is a show that's kind of the survival of the fittest. So they get 100 athletes, entertainers, they call in South Korean pop culture. So I love South Korean pop culture. So I know quite a few of the people that are on the show. So I have that extra added bonus for myself. But it's basically guys that are going like they have these obstacle courses, stuff that they gotta go through and survive, and then they start eliminating players until you get to the last guy who wins $300 million. It's an awesome show, dude. And so I watched the first season, loved it. The second season's on, right? So I just watched. I caught up tonight with 2 episodes, which were awesome. They had in this one they had a maze that they had to navigate, and there's challenges, and then it's all about strategy and stuff like that. The first was more about endurance, dude. They had all those running machines, which I can't use anymore, right? And then the people had to go through a challenge on that one. Then they had like a one-on-one where you have to like basically keep away with a ball, and they had different. Anyway, just go on Netflix, and if you're interested, go watch it, guys. But the reason I put that out there because that's what I do, right? If you're not giving me something I don't like, dude, I got 500 million things I could be doing. Like if Microsoft does what it's like, I'm just using this as an example. If Microsoft like kind of pisses me off with some of the stuff that they're doing, right? Then I'll just go back into my backlog of games, right? Not saying that they have, but I'm just saying, right? If what I actually use my backlog of games now is like if sometimes during the year you have these dry seasons when it comes to pop culture, right? You know, and then we went through COVID and stuff like that. So I got a lot of stuff to occupy me, right? We are watching Avatar, Netflix. I had to wait for my kids. So what did I do? I went back and started watching the old show, which I own a digital copy of, right? And the reason I tell people that is like, look, dude, if this stuff is pissing you off, like you just want to watch a good show, and you said screw the politics, screw all of that, just give me something good, and they can't give you that. Dude, go back to the classics. That's what I like to do. You never. And then outside of stuff that you can do for yourself too, like maybe learning another skill, or if you don't know how to cook, maybe learn how to cook. I go to the gym all the time. I kind of have to because of my physical condition. I just can't not go to the gym. I have to constantly work on my back and my shoulder pain. So it's keeping stretching and doing very targeted exercises, as opposed to when I was younger and I was pushing like you know trying to bench like over 400 pounds and stuff like that. With that attitude and stuff like that. That's all out the window. I'm older now, right? But you can always find something to do. Sorry, let me get to the comments. Yeah, exactly. Like Friends, dude. That was a big. People actually left the service. I think when Netflix lost it, people left the service. It was a how they keep their analytics. Dude. There was a big drop because people like stuff that's familiar that they know. And I'll be honest with you, man. A lot of this stuff is entertaining. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about Generation X, and it's funny to me because I am Generation X, and I was watching people's reaction to Generation X, and I was just laughing in my head because we just looked at it as everyday life. These guys now are looking at this is Gen Z, and they're kind of reacting to it like, oh my gosh, dude, is that legal? Why would they do that? Like it like totally blows their mind. Xbox would definitely win out. Yeah, realist, yeah. And hey, shout out to you, brother. Yeah, I was kind of a little bit low. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying I'm like throwing myself on my sword, right? But then when you talk to realists or you read his tweets, man, there's a lot of wisdom in what he says, man. A very, very based and pragmatic approach to all this stuff. You know, I think we lost Tim Dog though. Realist, there's no bringing that dude back, but it is what it is. But I agree with you. I think 100% Xbox will be on top. It's gonna suck when Microsoft does their arbitrary handout to Sony before Sony finally goes to where the dinosaur. Yeah, so that's another thing I'm thinking that they're doing. Like I said, the premise of that movie, the people would go and marry people to get the land rights, and since there was a time where I guess men, um, you can put stuff in their name and stuff like that, and that's how they would get the land. I don't know if that stuff is true. I'm just saying that was the premise of it, and so this is when I'm looking at what Xbox is doing. It's almost like if like okay, you won't meet us here, we'll meet you there, and we'll meet you there, and we'll meet you all over the place. It kind of reminds me of Avatar, man, when the Earth Kingdom, right? Like there's a war going on, and then everybody was like brainwashed to say there wasn't a war going. That's funny, dude. It is so it's kind of like like you saw on like I don't know if you watched National Geographic, but I saw the story where they have this fungus that were taking over insects, predominantly ants. So that's kind of what Microsoft is doing. They'll leave them no choice, which I agree with. I just don't like the way Microsoft is doing it, dude. I wanted hammer and anvil, not diplomacy. I'm Sparta, not Athens. Uh, there's no MIS. What is that, realist? Sorry. There's no music to charge him. There's no music to charge him. Let me know, bro. What is that, bro? This new stuff is brain rot. Realist. This new stuff is brain rot. Yeah, I mean, I won't let my kids listen to popular music, and I lucked out with my kids because they're not. They're them and their friends are kind of like anti um, popular things. My daughter. In fact, my daughter was like a little bit too dark for me. I was looking at her one time. I was like, you need to like. She's like all gloom and doom. But I think that's like a phase she was going through. But they don't do that. The only thing maybe like even K-pop is big, right? Especially since I'm in Hawaii. But they listen to it because their friends listen to it. It was popular, so it was something up for them. But I mean, they've moved on to other things, basically. So they don't follow popular culture, and it's not because they choose not to. It's not. It's also just not their style. Like my daughter and her little hoodlum friends, they had like this little black market thing going on at the school. I didn't push on it because the school is one of those things they let them do it but can't approve it. So they were like making stuff and selling it because they're all into anime and manga and superhero stuff. Though that's falling off, stuff like that. So they draw, they art, they do, they make that they're making little craftable. They're crafting little things, man. Making little, I don't know what to say, like they're knitting, sewing stuff together. They were making stickers, bracelets, dude. They were doing like drawings and selling it. And not for a lot of money, but I mean they made money on it, enough for their supplies and stuff. So, I respect the hustle. I told my daughter that I respect the hustle. I'm never gonna hate on that, dude. I admit I can't watch reality shows. I hated them all my life. LOL. Still, I don't tell anyone what to like. It's always been one of my moms. I guess I like the show because of the premise of the show, right? The physical aspect of it. Also because I am into the culture of Korea, especially the pop culture. So that's a double, plus. That's a double plus for me. And I like the premise. It's kind of like Squid Game, except without the violence and the dead and people dying. Because they did a Squid Game show, which was good. It was okay. I mean, they had all the challenges and stuff like that. So to me, I'm kind of like that. Like Survivor, I did like Survivor because I like the challenges, not so much all the drama. And then some of that drama was you can tell because for a lot of these shows, you can tell it was kind of rigged. With Physical 100, it's all about physicality, and it's really popular right now. Like fitness and stuff, like that. The whole thing with Stellar Blade, and then people couldn't believe that there was a model like that because they have this kind of idea of what an Asian woman's supposed to look like. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying as a stereotypical, but there is a certain body type to every culture, right? Right. But that's not the case in Asia right now, especially in South Korea. So that model that they use, that's 100% her. Because there's a fitness craze going on in South Korea and even in India, bro. If you do a Google search, man, just go see some of these dudes. Some of these dudes are jacked. The only disadvantage they have is when they come over to the West, and the people on the West, we just have bigger frames, and it's probably because of the dieting and stuff like that. They got the bigger framing, the height, right? So that gives you a distinct advantage. But I'm telling you, man, you check out some of these dudes, man. They're no joke now. They've really that industry's grown over there. So that's why I like it. I like to see them coming into their own, which is the reason why I like watching their like I like watching anime. I like watching the dramas and K dramas. Even the stuff in China, man. Their action flicks and stuff like that. Not on the par of ours, but they've stepped up their game. It's unfortunate that their government's gone totally nuts. It's killing everything right now. But we're checking out, bro. I know if you don't like reality shows, but it might be something you might favor. I don't want cats like him back. If we're going to console war going forward, we have to adjust. So you're talking about crap? Oh, Tim. You're probably talking about Tim Dog. Sorry. Yeah, I mean he's burned us, bridges. He knows better. Right? And there'll be people that welcome him back, but it'll be like the Coast Eastwood guys, those dudes, the Jess Gordons and all that stuff. Those guys don't matter. Maybe they will, but he's burned his bridges with a lot of people because he's been not just defensive, man. He's been like venomous, dude, online. Dude, I see it because I still follow him. And then there's people that came up to him, right, and be like, dude, I can't believe what's going on, and all this kind of stuff. And then he'll get nasty with them. And I can understand that he's dealing with people that are nasty with him. But like I'm talking about just a person where like, look, dude, I followed you all this time, and then he feels attacked by it, slighted by it, so he'll attack him back. So he's done. It's over for him, dude. You said your son wasn't as musically charged as you were. What I'm saying is like probably since I can't play, I was more into listening to the music and participating in the culture of music, like knowing about the band and the artists and stuff like that. My son is more in tune with the actual playing of instruments and looking at music. Like you just like growing up, you would listen to music, listen to beat sounds. Like sometimes you didn't even know what the lyrics were. And you're just into that part of it. My son, he actually like breaks it down because he plays, right? And he's in band. He has performances he has to do and stuff like that. So he's more musically inclined in that way. Um, but I don't necessarily think like he doesn't like Stevie Wonder the way I like Stevie Wonder. Does that make sense? Like Stevie Wonder, the artist, Stevie Wonder, who made one of the greatest albums of all time. Was it like Notes in the Symphony of Life? Was the name of it? It was his first album, which is on my top 100, actually top 20 if I'm being honest. Right. So I think I come in from the culture side. He looks at it. He looks at Stevie Wonder as from musicianship. I guess is what I'm saying. So there's some avenues he's going down that I have no idea about. So that's why I know it kind of came. I probably confused you. Sorry, didn't mean to. We appreciate music very differently because at the end of the day, dude, he's on his PC playing video games or doing stuff with his friends, playing Fortnite. So that's his idea of fun. On Korea Fitness is surging. Yeah, it's been like that for the last, let's say, what is it, 24? Like 2016, 2015. They had their people there, but it was very few and far between, but it kind of blew up in those times. And it's been growing. And what you're seeing right now is that you see some people come on and they're like the new, they're like, oh wow, that dude's amazing. And then some other dude comes out. And then the next dude comes out. So it's been like a cultural shift. For one of the knock on the Korean, at least on the male side that I heard, I'm probably military for people that were stationed in Korea, is that they weren't broad in the shoulder. Well, that's not a problem anymore. The interesting thing is to me is their body type. So the kind of cool thing was or is about them is that I mean I'm talking about them as in fitness and how they approach it is that they know what their strengths and weaknesses are and they can work on it and expound on it. But like I said, a lot of times when these guys come over to the West, right, it's hard when you got guys like Ronnie Coleman, guys like Paul Dillett. Well, I guess old school guys, but like some of the guys that they have now, these guys are like what's his name? Uh, Shoot, I can't think of his name right now. But even the lower rank guys, dude, they just have too much size, and it's all in the framing, man. Right. So over time, though, I think they could change that too because their diet, but they'd have to change their diet, and I don't know how much they can get on, uh, um, like actually change physically, right? See that a lot of times with Polynesians, like we're more lean, had some height, but was more on the lean side because of our diet and the way we lived. But once we were westernized, dude, then that's how you see like these huge dudes walking around, because the diet changed, and then generations have been growing up on that diet. So America needs to encourage fitness, but money is in sick people. It is. It's also the choices to do. If people really wanted to, they could. I mean, you have to be a little bit more careful now because it's it's expensive, right? Everything's expensive now. So, but there's a lot of stuff you could do, man. Like some of the stuff they do, you could just get like one brand of protein powder and you'd be good. I remember when I was younger, dude, you had to hunt this stuff out, get advice from people. People are turning into like chemists, trying to mix stuff up. Probably a lot of it not good. So you see people of that generation having health problems now because of the way they approach their training. But it's a lot more smarter now, dude. Supplements are on a very way higher grade than we were coming up, or at least me when I was coming up. I'm old. I muted Tim. Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. Tim. The only reason I stuck with him, dude, is just because I'm numb to it, so it doesn't matter to me what he says. For years, Bolo was the only swole Asian I knew. Yeah, dude. Yeah, he was he stood out, and that's what I mean. It's like you'd have one in a million, but nowadays, dude, like I was watching physical 100, and they had a dude on there, man. And I didn't realize he was as big as he was. I seen pictures of him, but they call him the Korean Thanos, and he has this kind of this wide build. But one of the advantages I think like the Korean fitness people who do fitness in Korea, they have a good proportionality. Weaknesses would be overall size, and again, it has nothing. I'm not talking about muscle size or strength. I'm just talking about framing. Their framing, dude. And if you've met, like I've met people from like when I was growing up in Florida, dude. I met this dude, and he was at the Disney World Open, the Norwegian experience, and there's this one dude standing there, dude, and I swear to God, he walked. To me, he walked out of the history books, bro. That dude was a 100% Viking, man. Nicest guy though, man. He's like, yeah, young guy, but he's just his overall size, dude. Like when you see somebody like the Mountain, like that kind of size, right? Just big, right? Um, and he wasn't like a bodybuilder or anything like that, dude. But his hands are massive, dude. His arms are bigger than my legs, and I've always had big legs, dude. And his shoulders, dude, were just super wide, man. It's like you couldn't look past this dude. He just engulfed everything around it. You know what I mean? And that's like one of the biggest guys I've ever seen in my life. It's so much so that it still resonates with me to this day. That's what I mean by framing, you know. So if that guy decides to become a bodybuilder, dude, he'll be, you know, especially in this day and age, dude. Like I said, the science is way beyond what it is. I can't rock with Tim. Ponies automatically adopted him. You can't trust any Xbox fan that deals with ponies. Oh yeah, dude, 100%, 100%. And that's what turns them, dude. A lot of times, because this fight is so hard on the Xbox side, dude. You're never gonna win, right? You're always gonna be hated. It's always gonna be something with Xbox. And for a lot of these guys, they snap, dude. And one of the problems is they associate themselves with ponies anyway. That's why I don't listen to none of these dudes, man. A prerequisite for me as an Xbox dude is you don't associate with ponies. We already have like pony bots on our side. You know, we don't need to go full pony. It's 100% on that. But yeah, that's what the channel is going to start focusing on. Realist, if you want to jump in on the podcast, let me know. Not this one because I'm going to wrap it up. Um, Xbox fans can win if they dictate terms. Yeah, but they never will, dude, because they're weak. In order to dictate terms, you got to have a mindset of being of winning and being victorious. Right? And these guys aren't like that. That's why this is who you're stuck with. That's why I don't see, as far as the fanboy side, it'll never change. These guys have showed their ass way too many times, man. That's why I'll never believe any of them. They tried to win on PlayStation fan terms. Yeah. I mean, the problem is they believe those terms. As we can see, Sony's been in trouble for a long time, in my opinion. That's from what I've been following. So, but yeah, so again, guys, if you guys are like me and you're tired of the things that you love being turned into a political talking point, being turned into a cultural ideology, um, tired of trying to watch something and you just want to be entertained, but they're just trying to stuff down your throat. And it doesn't have to be something that you don't agree with, right? It's just that something that you find that's not appropriate for what you're trying to consume, right? This is why the Gamergate thing, they're calling it Gamergate 2.0. That's why that's swinging back around, right? Because these people never learn. And a lot of these guys never went away. This happened years ago. And all these guys did was they just flipped the script. And then they knew that if they just stayed in and then worked in the backgrounds, dude, that they would get reinforcements. Because the problem with all of this stuff when it comes to DEI, guys, is that you're not just dealing with what's going on now. You're dealing with a generational shift that has gone on for at least 2 decades that I remember, right? Because in the 90s, dude, I was on the other side of the aisle when it came to this kind of stuff, dude, and I got called every single name. So this is not my first rodeo when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's all about controlling the narrative because they are ideologically driven, right? So it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. You know, they believe what they believe, and you're gonna have to believe what they believe unless you stand up to them. And that's what it's starting to boil down to. Yeah. That's true, really. Um, but I mean, for me, dude, I'll just be honest with you guys. I'm a cultural crusader. Always have been, right? Because I love um, popular culture. Not something that I die without. You know what I'm saying? But I just occupied the space for so long, and it's been something that I even had to come to the realization when I was like when I had my kids, and then I was like in like when I was like 38, 39, or maybe 35. I think I was like 35, and I was trying to push away from it, and I just couldn't. Right? I just loved it too much. Right? To the point where I'm like, okay, I realized. So I was doing that for a couple years, man, and this is where I messed up because I lost a lot of the stuff I had because I wanted to kind of move on from it. So I don't have any of my old comics, dude. None of my systems. Um, none of my old games. I'm not saying on the level of Sega Man, but I definitely would have had some stuff that Sega Man would have been interested in. Like some of the games he talks about, I had those. The actual, the actual cases too, man. Not back then you had to buy a hard copy, but that's the background I come from when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, but I realized, dude, I realized that look, I might as well just deal with it because I'm not going to give it up. I realized that, and then I moved on from there, and I just accepted it because I was always raised in the part of like your life has phases, and so certain parts of your life you should be at a certain point. And this is how I know that I love this stuff because I've never kind of strayed from it. It doesn't preoccupy my life like it used to. Because when you're younger, right, you have more time and energy. So I'm definitely not on that level, and I can't be anyway, and I wouldn't be. But I've been able to take pop culture and make it a part of my life in a way that's not intrusive, and in a way that I can enjoy myself and reminisce, dude, and get nostalgic, and also enjoy the new stuff that's coming out because they have a lot of great stuff for all the crap that's going on in the world, and the way that the world wants to come into pop culture. There's still a lot of stuff being produced that you can enjoy, especially if you're old school like me, or if you're an old soul, man, and you just like comic books for the way they are, dude. And this is why I did this video because you don't have to play their game. You don't have to buy their stuff, dude. This is one of the things that I appreciate about growing up the way that I did. I didn't have a lot of money, so you have to be efficient when it came to collecting stuff, man. That's why I didn't have a lot of stuff. Um, and then, or you have to pick and choose what you put your time into, right? For me, it was gaming, but with gaming, you could borrow from your friends. That was the culture of it now. But the thing that I focus on the most was my comic book collection, dude. I had an amazing comic book collection. And not for the sake of collecting just to sell it. I was never like that. It's the sake of collecting because you love the culture of comics. Okay, so you know that's that's the kind of stuff that I'm going back to right now. Like I said, growing up the way that I did, you don't have to participate in their ecosystem. And by ecosystem, I'm saying like, look, you love something so much, but then when they take the things that you love and they start turning it into trash, you're just gonna have to learn how to walk away. That's what I do. And like I said, it's easy for me because I've had a life where I couldn't actually even participate because I didn't have money. So when these guys start doing the stuff that they're doing, like case in point, I like to make talk about it a lot, but it's with like Marvel, right? Marvel will sit there and basically, tell you and dictate to you how you're going to enjoy your Marvel cinematic experience or your Marvel comic book experience. And they hold the reign, they hold control of the property, right? They have the money to produce the stuff, but I also have the power of choice not to participate in it. And I'm telling you, once you guys realize that, because I see some people struggling with this, they don't like it, but they love the brand so much, right, that they want to participate. And I'm like, look, dude, just get over that hump and you'll be fine. The amount of freedom you have for not letting people control you, right? Because that's what it boils down to with all this stuff, power and control. They want to preach their message, right? But they don't want to share it, they want to preach it. And what I mean, right, the difference being is that they want to convert you to their ideology. This is why there are people that don't agree with these people, but they do that because either their job might be in jeopardy, they might get ostracized from a community, right? All of this kind of stuff, right? I'm the type of person, I don't care. That's probably one of the greatest things about my generation is we don't care. And so when people, you know, tell me or whatever, unfriend me, unfollow me, cancel me, I just walk away. I'm like, I'll cancel myself. Because I don't need to participate in it, dude. And then what you can do, again, man, is just make a library or make a society for your own self with people, or then you can create your own ecosystem, right? Just support the companies that you're comfortable with. Support the products that they make, man. Support companies that you might not be online with, but maybe they get content and they don't let it bleed over into enjoying the product or the culture that you're trying to participate in. Okay, little stuff like that. For me, I've actually got a library of old television shows I've been going through. I still have my Netflix account. There's some stuff that Netflix does I absolutely do not agree with, but they have other stuff that I like, and so I just occupy myself with that. Right, and I find myself right moving around, and it's giving me a lot of freedom. Like the stuff that Microsoft is doing right now, because they pretty much killed the console war. I don't have to worry about it, so I can spend more time playing games, stuff like that. You've seen I've been doing a lot more videos. One of the reasons I'm doing the videos, I just don't like any of the content that other people are making, right? Because I go out there, I would prefer other people to do it. And so, and even our brothers, man, our brothers that I hang around with are very busy. Like Unlimited was talking about earlier, he wants to do it, but he's got to handle his business. So that happens. So I have a time now because I've X'd out other things that I used to participate in. I don't have to worry about it anymore, you know. But yeah, dude, just course correct, man. Just there's so much more that you could be doing than worrying about stuff that isn't worth worrying about. You know what I mean? Let me see. Okay, I think I'm caught up with the chat. So that's all I'm trying to say, guys. I know it's been a little bit. We kind of went into the Xbox thing in this thing, but which is fine. I'm a pro Xbox channel. But that's all I wanted to say at the end of the day, man. If you guys want to participate in pop culture, but you find yourself not liking the content that they're making, at the end of the day, you're your own boss when it comes to this kind of stuff. And just go out there and find stuff that you do like. It might cause you to have to experiment a little bit. It might definitely will cause you to step out of your comfort zone with some things. You know, when I started watching anime, there's some stuff. I only reason I watched it because my kids were gonna watch it, and I knew there was some stuff out there I absolutely did not want them watching. Fortunately for me, my kids have a particular taste, so they just gravitated towards this taste. This is why I always believe that keeping your kid as young as possible and as innocent as possible is is important. Right? Let them enjoy their childhood. And in fact, they got so. But the only bad thing about all of this stuff is I'm a bigger fan of anime than my kids are now. They've kind of moved on to it, but I'm still there. And one of the reasons, again, I'm there, right, because I can't get anything out of the stuff I normally like to watch. Right, I do not watch any Western media for the most part, dude. It's absolute trash. There's some stuff again you find on Netflix that's pretty good. And this is why I'm able to dabble in other cultures and the type of entertainment they have. This is how I was able to get into K drama. Right? And I've been into K drama for years. But that's how bad the movies and television has been. You know, I came from a time where there was you'd have a lineup of shows that you would set aside a whole night for to watch. ABC had it with Friday nights. They had Full House. Man, did they still have Growing Pains at the time? There was three shows on there that you would make time to watch it, and one of them was Family Matters. That's like one of my favorite shows. Right? And so that's the generation that I come from, right? Where and the networks back then they would battle it out, and then some one year a network would find the right formula and they would dominate the Friday night slot. Um, and then of course they had the money. There was a cadence to the stuff that we would take. So it's definitely different now, which I like now because just the simple fact it's readily available for me to enjoy. The funny thing about a particular group of people is that they couldn't go on if they were all left on their own island. Yeah, yeah. So you gotta, yeah, and I know people are cognizant of that. You should check out Physical 100 your list. They have Physical 100 the first season and Physical 100 the underground. Yeah, most people won't be able to survive, but they also got to make it entertaining. I understand that. So be realistic about this when you watch these shows, guys. I'm just looking to be entertained, just to check out. And again, I don't want to do the political stuff, but it's entrenched in everything, so you have to deal with it as it is. Right? And like for me, again, when things get too political, when things get too ideological, right, I'll just drop a show. I stopped watching Star Wars, Disney Star Wars. I was trying to get into it. I think there's a lot of potential in the stuff that they wanted to do. They had a pretty decent roadmap. And of course, you watch Mandalorian, which I absolutely love. They had what's that? The Bad Batch was good. A couple stuff they did was really good, right? But then overall, man, they just tanked their entire franchises, man, because they're too focused on representation. They're too focused on what a lot of people call the message now, right? Which is inclusion, diversity, all that stuff, at the sake of a good story and good characters, right? And even if it's not canon, like it doesn't make or it doesn't not even have to be canon, dude. It's like stuff didn't just didn't make sense when they did it, and that's because they're lazy writers and their focus is on something else that most of the people that love to consume this stuff has no concern about. And I find it ironic that I get preached to about being inclusive when I grew up in a generation of people that was probably the most inclusive. Well, the state I live in is probably the most diverse state. And I can tell you, dude, it's not rainbows and butterflies like these people paint it. This is how I knew these people were full of crap. Because I come from a very diverse state. And there are issues, man. There's issues within cultures, and there's issues with cultures. And I'll put it to you this way: white people are a minority here. Even to this day, there's more of them now. But when I was growing up, dude, if you're a white dude, you was the minority. You was the person getting picked on. But there would be a lot of times there wouldn't be like white people around here, right? We call them ollies here. And so what ends up happening? You find divisions among yourself. So all this stuff, all this kumbaya stuff they talk about, all of us coming together, this all BS, dude. If all the white people disappeared off the earth tomorrow, dude, we still have problems. I'll put it to you this way. You see that on the news now, dude. The problem with a lot of this stuff isn't race as far as color, dude, it's culture. It's like where you're from, how you're raised, what's your values, what principles do you have, right? For some people growing up poor or rough, they don't care about luxury items. They're the guys that, like, I'm a type of guy that I don't want to go to McDonald's, man, because I'm not gonna pay $12 for a freaking value meal. I'm just not gonna do it. So we just make our own hamburgers. I'm just like, no, dude. And that's not even to do with the taste of the money. The money, yeah, right? Because we just have money that I don't want, but I feel it's a waste, right? But I'm just not gonna. On principle, for me, I'm like, no, dude, I'm not gonna buy this crap, dude. I don't know. I'm not talking. I'm not that talking about that. Oh, sorry. I've watched that show though. Yeah, dude, I love that show. Um, yeah, but it's a real problem, man, because these guys just don't get it. Right? There was a time when I was growing up, dude. If you weren't making the money, dude, that was the litmus test. That was the line that they drew, man. Even if and one of the things is this is why you hear people who are into pop culture talk about cult classics, right? There's movies now that are really popular that didn't get any attention or were box office busts, right? But now that they found their audience, and that was the great thing. That should be the gold standard across across anything above anything else. That should be the gold standard, right? That's true meritocracy, dude. Because there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. And sometimes there's a movie that some like an actor will win an Academy Award, an Oscar, and he's the greatest thing. He then 5 years down the road he drops off. The dude that he lost to, or the dude that lost to him, right? He's like the biggest star of all time, right? That's the cool thing, dude. This was cool about entertainment. This was cool about television and movies and stuff like that, dude. These are the underdog or the heartbreaking story and stuff like that. That's part of the culture. And when you try and systematically make everything fair or try and put everybody in a bubble, surround them in plastic wrap so that they won't get hurt, this is where creativity dies. This is why a lot of people are struggling to tell a story. I tell my kids this a lot. I'm like, dude, you guys don't have stories to tell, and I feel bad for them. Dude, I can rattle off 100 million stories to my kids when I was growing up. They've not had the same experience, dude. And I'm not trying to wish, especially the bad stuff, wish that on them, right? But an experience is an experience, good or bad. But the great thing about experiences is that they're your own, and you can take that as life lessons. You can take that as a good laugh when you're old, like me, right? Like when that was happening to you when you're young, you didn't like it, but as you got older, it's a sense of comedy. You can laugh at yourself. You don't take things seriously. You've been around the block a couple times, and all of this stuff, forms the stew, right? That is your life. And so for me, man, that's just like one of the biggest problems in entertainment, man, because a lot of this stuff, when you can't feel it because the people that are creating this stuff don't know what they're talking about or never experienced it themselves. That's why they can't tell a good story. That's why they can't make good characters. They grew up in a, everybody gets a trophy generation. So they try and make everybody even across the board, even the bad guys. When I was growing up, there was like a little cloud of gray to certain characters that you would have. Right? There was the anti-hero, which was done right back then. But what never changed was that there was good and that there was evil. And at the end of the day, this is why, and I'll do a separate video on this because I think it bears talking about. But for a lot of you guys are wondering why now, why is it happening now? You guys are like me and you feel it. Well, I know the answer. The answer is because at the end of the day, this stuff can be used for good, right? When you talk about superheroes, it's basically good versus evil, right? And when you have absolutes in things in society now, you have a generation of people coming up that are trying to destroy these absolutes. They don't want to know that there's a good and evil. They don't want to know that there's a black and white. And a lot of stuff in pop culture is geared that way. You think about Rocky, underdog story, right? And you think about Superman, the type of character he is. Truth, justice, and the American way. Well, they took away the American way, where he goes truth and justice, right? And now they're making him gay, right? There's layers to this kind of stuff, dude. And if you don't look at it in that kind of way, I'm not saying you have to. I just can't help but look at it this kind of way because I'm so charged, right? And I see them destroying all the stuff that I grew up liking and loving, and I still do to this day. Right? And there's a level, being as old as I am, I'm a kind of seasoned guy, and I believe in certain things, and on that level, I feel insulted, man, because they're trying to change that as well. But again, if you guys are new to this, then definitely do your homework, man. There's a lot of guys I follow. I share their stuff out on social media, which is X mostly. And I know a lot of people are coming on board now because they're starting to pick up on it. Because it's starting to affect them, let's be honest. This is the, like, you look at politics right now. You look at, like, a lot of people are switching their votes from 2020. They're gonna vote for Orange Man back in 2024. And then when you listen to what they're saying, it's almost like a light switch went off on their head. And then now they're thinking differently. That's with any aspect of life, right? Not just politics, but my point is that's what I mean. It gets to that point when you're looking at things differently, right? Because of an experience that you went through. So, and again, if it affects you directly, right? I have a certain mindset. I was raised a certain way, so my mind tends to go that way. I'm also cognizant of that fact, so I don't get caught in hypocrisy, or I get caught in doublespeak, right? Because I know how I am, which is most important, right? So that I can guide myself accordingly. This is why I can tell people that I'll be an Xbox guy. I won't change. I've already determined because of various reasons. And once I talk on it and I made up my mind, it's like a steel trap. I'm not saying you can't be flexible, right? But in this day and age, dude, it's not hard. It's hard. It's not hard for me not to be flexible. There are definitely lines being drawn in today's society of sides that you gotta have to pick. This is actually there's no shades of gray. There's black and there's white. There's good and there's bad, right? Or there's good and there's evil. There's wrong and there's right. It's that obvious now. And again, for me, I'm not gonna, and I won't do it, man. I won't participate in it, dude. I'll just deflect. Right? Saves me time and energy, and money. Microsoft goes down this road. I will course correct. And by road, I mean if they decide to go third party in a level that a lot of people think they are. I already have. I'm not saying they are, but there's people that are talking about it. For me, I already have. I have my game plan, my battle plan of what I'm going to do. Like on the console war stuff, sucks, right? But on the gaming front, awesome, dude. Don't have to worry about stuff anymore. Right? I'm actually enjoying gaming. I have been, but I have more time to do it. When you don't focus, like Unlimited said on his podcast, he stayed off of social media. And look how much time he has to play. And I've learned a lesson from that. I'm like, I like to fight the good fight. But Microsoft has decided to go a route. So instead of crying about it, I just like, okay, well, what can I do? Hey, look, I got Tales of Arise. I got that mech game that just released, that sim game that I was so interested in. There's like a bazillion games that I could be playing. And Microsoft is just double down for March or April. March and April, they're doubling down. And then you got the ID and Xbox stuff. Sarah Bonham's at GDC, they've been sharing stuff on that. Dude, if you get lost in your ecosystem, you'll be fine. They can't go full third party. Yeah, and I'm not saying they are realists, but that's how did I put it? That's the that's what's happening on social media. You see the people talking that way, and not pony stuff. I'm talking about Xbox guys because they don't know. They're all worried and stuff. But again, like if they just play their games, man, you'd be surprised how much at ease they would feel if they just did that. Most Game Pass subs are on console and they make 30% for just you having a platform. Yeah, definitely. When I see what they're trying to do, they're trying to they're trying to circumnavigate and find other avenues and stuff like that. Again, you know me, man. I'm just like, dude, just destroy them already. Destroy them and be done with these dudes. Open up drop the shields, man, full load on these torpedoes, man, and let them fly. That's what the Federation should have done to the Klingons. Just wipe them out. Captain Kirk was right, man. I'm with Captain. Dude, I'm with Thanos, man. I love that shirt. Somebody says has the snap that Thanos did, and you know how things are bad now. People like, oh, Thanos was right. Yeah, but let me roll out, guys. Thank you, Realist. Thank you, Unlimited, for checking in, for being here, bro. Again, wasn't meant to be a podcast. I know I lasted longer than I wanted to. As what else is new? But I did want to get that out there because that is important change for the channel. I gotta do stuff that I like to do, guys. And since Microsoft is course correcting, I'm course correcting as well. And right now, this is where my interests are lying right now. This whole DEI stuff and Gamergate 2.0, it is a real thing. It stretches beyond just video games, and it goes into indoctrination. There's a lot of evilness behind it too, and this is where the politics comes in as well. Again, I just remind you guys, if you guys are Xbox guys, just think about what's been going on with the FTC. It's on that kind of level with these guys. They don't care about the industry, don't care about you, don't care about the games. They just care about putting their message out there and that people adhere to that message. And if you don't, you'll get canceled. And so that's the next battlefield I guess I'm moving on to. Still will cover the games, guys. I'm still a pro Xbox channel. But right now, I'll probably have to change my content because I don't have, I think gaming media will be dead. Microsoft is changing the narrative in a totally different direction that I don't think people are seeing. And so I just sit here and wait for them to drop the games that I want to play. And I have the time to play, so I don't have to make as many videos like I used to. Which I don't make a lot of videos on. What am I kidding? It's just the videos that I make tend to run long. And we can work on that too. But yeah, just a quick heads up to what I'm doing in the near future. Oh, you have to get people playing Xbox games. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, bro. Rude Awakening though, right? When Game Pass came out, every so-called gamer should have Game Pass. That's a gamer's paradise. That's a gamer's dream. And I think Game Pass was good because it showed how many of these people are frauds. They're not gamers on that level. So I understand what Microsoft is doing. It's a great litmus test for them to have, and they're trying to go into all different directions and other attitudes. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. They're platform exclusivity on games that will drive the platform. Excuse me. You're talking about the other companies? I guess one of the reasons why I don't flip on as well, realists, because they just have so much money. I think that's what they've fallen back on. That they're going to go the long way instead of the short. Take that long path instead of the short path. When it comes to this, they're just gonna breed them out, Just buy their time and just let them fade into right off to the sunset. That's what it looks like to me they're doing. And one of the reasons, again, is it's good that they have money because it's what it is. They're blocking exclusivity. Games like COD. Oh, you mean like Xbox? Not being able to keep it just on Xbox? I think they're banking on the fact that once people realize it's in Game Pass, it's such a big title, they'll come over. And those of them that don't come over, they'll just end up buying it. So, but I'm waiting for that to happen. which I believe is at the end of the year, right? Or towards the end of the year. We'll see. But yeah, guys, let me wrap it up, man. Again, Realist, thanks for being here, bro. Yeah, let me know if you want to be on that podcast on Saturdays. It'll probably be in the morning, my time, so afternoon, mid afternoon for you guys. And that's gonna be the next podcast. I might do an all-in cast on Friday. I doubt it though. Or a Wrecking Crew podcast on Friday. I the only reason I doubt it is because if I do one on Saturday. Yeah, good night, brother. Thanks for being here. I don't know, dude. I just want to get back on make sure I don't mess up the schedule. Which would mean it would be next week then. But definitely this weekend, shooting for the All In podcast. Okay. Anyway, guys, let me go. Let me check out Xbox All In channel, host Sacred Forever. We out.